Hey guys, welcome back to 6th grade Latin. Alright, so today's video is not going to be too long, but we're going to dissect this first sentence very thoroughly. A lot of you guys did a really good job with that on Monday, and since you entered it then, I was able to get a sense of what issues people were having. And then number two, I need to make a correction. Not only did I color code that incorrectly, bona voluntatis actually go together, they're genitive. But I didn't tell you guys what voluntas means. So it's not just altissimus that we need. We need voluntas, voluntatis, which means will. As in, if you have the will to do something, like determination or willpower, not the helping verb and not the name of a student in our class. So if you want to pause and work through that now, because I don't blame you if you were really stumped on Monday if you're trying to do that, but we'll look at both of these. So, post bellum multos libros de pace et remediis belli videbant. This one's not too bad, but there's a couple things going on, and one thing that tripped or confused some people was that post and bellum go together, and it's just a little prepositional phrase. It's almost all by itself. So in the future, when you see something like post or propter, or really any of our prepositions like day, you should circle that preposition and then also what you think the object of it is, which usually the object is right next to it. So post and propter, they both take accusatives. So that's why bellum there is in its accusative. And so it's just, we're going to translate this as after the war, post bellum, which is interesting because we actually use the word post in English a lot as a prefix for the term post-war, which means anytime after World War II. So after the war, that's like kind of all by itself. It's just little prepositional phrase information that is giving us more detail, but it's not actually really like interacting with the rest of the main part of the sentence, which is like, a subject and a verb and a direct object usually. All right, so there's that, and that's why bellum is dark red, because that is an accusative object of a prep. It is not the direct object. But then, apparently, right next to it is the direct object, multos libros. I color coded it as red. I don't know how many of you guys tried to not use the color coding or what, but yeah, I already kind of said that was direct object. And since it is direct object, as far as we are going along in this sentence, we can't mess with it yet because we don't even know what our subject is. We don't know what our verb is. We don't know our subject. So the direct object's going to have to just wait for a bit. And then we hit de paca et remediis. And this is all green because paca and remediis are compound ablatives, meaning they're both objects of de. So whereas bellum was an object of post, paca and remediis are an object of de. So I guess I should have made post dark red as well, because it looks like I'm coloring the preposition usually to match the color of its objects. But yeah, so this is another prepositional phrase, and once again, we can't do anything with it yet. We still don't have our subject or verb, okay? They're not nominative, they're ablative. I'll show you guys the third declension ablative again, but that's what paca is there. And then belly, looks like that's genitive. How do we know that? Well, beyond me just telling you that long I, I don't think it'll be our once we actually look at our verb, it'd be weird if the subject was wars, like wars, see something like that. We would be personifying war, I guess. So it seems like not likely. And if something can be genitive and it's coming right after another noun, it's a good chance it is genitives. Genitives really like to hang out to the right of a word that they are possessive of. So that's just possessive. And then with Davon, here we go. Now we actually have the meat of our sentence. That is a third person, plural, verb. And what tense is it? Anyone? Is it future or imperfect? Because it sure is, it's not present. So let's see. It is, drumroll. It's imperfect. Okay. The BA. Remember, BA shows up in all those imperfect endings, which once again is just a fancy word for basically past tense. It's past continuous. So we want to translate that as were seeing or just saw. And who was seeing or saw? Well, it's third person plural, so it's going to be they were seeing. We have a dropped subject, so we just have to whip they out ourselves based on the fact that nothing else could be nominative plural and uh, it's third person plural, this verb. So yeah, I mean, belly, once again, belly could be nominative plural, but that just wouldn't make sense. Like the wars we're seeing. I guess poetically you could do that and personify wars like the war itself saw something. We sometimes use the word saw in a loose figurative way like that. But anyway, after the war, they were seeing, and now we can actually get a whole rest of our sentence in. So they were seeing the direct object, right? They're reverbing the direct object. So that is going to be multos libros. That is many books. I saw a few people get libros mixed up with freedom. Super understandable. Do we have libertas, the noun for freedom, or is it still just liber, libera? Because the adjective for free, for one thing, that is a long I. I know that's super hard to remember, but like liber, libria's book, whereas liber is free. So look for the macron over the I. Liber is free. And also, like, if this was free, we would just have two adjectives hanging out. Adjectives often like to modify a noun, like sometimes they stand on their own, but if they are standing on their own, it's probably the only adjective. So, like many free what? It's just many books. It's not about the word for free. But yeah, that's tricky. So many books. What kind of books? Books, day, about? About peace and the remedy of wars, the rest of it. So the books are about peace and remedies. That remedies should be plural. Let me fix that real quick. So peace and remedies was just the object of day, both of them. And then now belly has something to be possessive of. So it's the remedies of war. We would usually probably say in English like the remedy to war. The cure of war. Maybe that would sound more natural. But this is fine. Yeah. There's some leeway. Let's see. What are some? So you could have said they saw instead of we're seeing. About peace. Let's see. We sometimes have translated deus from. Would that work? Many books from peace, and then see the context would tell us that the books aren't like from peace. Like that. What would that even really mean? So if the ablatives were a location, if it was like de Roma, then maybe it would be from Rome. But in this case, we're going to translate de as about. And we usually translate de as about. All right, hopefully that went pretty well. And there is, so once again, looking at Paca, it's from Pax Pacus, okay? And so that is the third declension ablative that I was talking about on Monday, where it's just an E. So if you see a noun, and even if you're not totally sure it's third declension, but you think it might be, and it has an E at the end, it's probably third declension, and it's definitely ablative if it is. So that's an easy one to spot, right? All right, maybe at the end of next week, we're going to have a little bit of a declension quiz. Because we're not quite done with Chapter 7 yet. On Friday, after and or before you take your vocab quiz on Chapter 7 words, I will probably start showing you some Chapter 8 words, but it doesn't mean we're not quite done with Chapter 7. All right, how did this one go? Again, you can pause it now if you want to actually give it a good shot, since I made typos on Monday, unfortunately. But Gloria non altissimus Deo et in terra pax hominibus bonae voluntatis. The book does this every once in a while. It pulls a quotation from anyone? It's from the Bible, actually, yeah. So the Old and New Testament were translated into Latin really quickly, originally written in Hebrew, but Latin was one of the very first languages, along with Greek, for them to be translated into. And so, yeah, we have like old Latin translations of all of those. And so this would translate to this. It's an interesting sentence because what is missing? Can anybody tell what's totally missing from this? And I'll jump back to the answer and explain it. But like, what part of speech? It looks. I think we have nouns. I can kind of tell we have nouns. We might even have at least one adjective. It looks like. What else? We have conjunctions. Et, connecting things. We don't have a verb. So this happens sometimes in older literature or even like mottos. A lot of college mottos use Latin phrases that actually lack a verb. We get something close to a verb just by the fact that Deo and hominibus are dative. So it's glory to God. That almost implies a verbal kind of thing, right? Like may glory be given or go towards God. It's a quicker, easier way of saying that. But yeah, it doesn't technically count as a verb. But yeah, Deo and hominibus are just the fact that they're dative. I put them in the dative blue. Those are indirect objects, and so the sentence still feels like a sentence, even though it's technically lacking a verb. Kind of interesting. Maybe not to you guys. I don't know. But our subjects are just glory and peace. So Gloria and Pax. I think that just the fact that we got Pax Pacus this chapter, it gave them the idea to include this translation in the textbook. In the highest, that's an ablative phrase. In Terra, I made a different shade of green, but it's also on Earth. Every once in a while, N is on, right? Usually it's just in, but it can be on because like in Earth would be weird. And so yeah, the idea is that maybe you started to work on this and then it just became really familiar. Of course, not all of you have heard this probably, but it's a pretty common little phrase that shows up. All right. So, oh yeah, and boni voluntatis. Those were genitive. So sorry about that typo, where I had boni like it was blue for some reason. It's to men of goodwill, not good men of will or whatever. That would have made sense. All right. All right. So this is your last chance. Well, almost your last chance. You technically have like 48 hours, but we are going to do a vocab quiz on Friday. I'm going to jump back to this so you can probably pause it on that last screen. But yeah, so I'll pick 10 of these, just 10. Now, it is going to be a little harder than a normal vocab quiz is because it will not be matching. I might make 5 of them multiple choice, but at least half of them, you're just going to have to type in the English word that is the translation of the Latin word, and you won't have a word bank to draw from. So in the video on Friday, I want you to watch that first, and I'll explain the instructions a little bit. But yeah, please keep in mind that you're supposed to put all your materials away when you do this. And please be respectful of that. You guys have truly been amazing about adapting to the online method here. But in general, us teachers are really hoping that when we are giving these online quizzes, that kids put away certain materials and don't just like have the vocab out. But I mean, on Friday, you can take 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes looking over the vocab before you take it. So there's not a huge rush to take it necessarily. Anyway, that's about it for that. I might put a little prompt on today's form. I think I will. If you scroll down, you'll probably see it. Where you guys can give me suggestions again. So just because a bunch of people wanted to hear about Ides of March and Julius Caesar doesn't mean there weren't other ones. So I might look back at the old suggestions because all of them are good. But you can suggest the same thing again if it was something different than Ides of March. We can't necessarily get to everything, but I kind of like the way that worked out. So if there's something that shows up more than once, I can maybe throw something together for that. And like I said, we might start to look at the next vocab set on Friday. Because vocab's great, right? I like new words. All right, guys. Good luck studying for your vocab quiz. Like I said, there will be some kind of declension quiz later next week so we can finally actually cap off Chapter 7. But this will be like the beginning of the end of Chapter 7. And I will talk to you on Friday. All right, thank you.